Good evening and welcome to the 2022 Tas Police Recruitment livestream. I'm Louise Huber and I'll be your host this evening. We're coming to you today from Lutruwita, Tasmania. And before we kick things off, I'd like to respectfully acknowledge the Tasmanian Aboriginal people as the traditional owners of the land upon which we live and work, and pay our respect to elders past and present. We recognise the Tasmanian Aboriginal people as the continuing custodians of the rich cultural heritage of Lutruwita, Tasmania. This week is an exciting one for Tasmania Police, as trainees from the first ever northern-based recruit course are set to graduate alongside their southern counterparts on Friday. These 38 men and women will become Tasmania's newest police officers, committed to serving our community and making a difference every single day. Hopefully this evening's session will be helpful for those of you who think policing could be in your future too. Tonight we'll be speaking with a wide range of Tasmania police officers who will be sharing their stories and experiences on the job. We'll find out about their reasons for joining and what motivates them every day, and we'll hear from the recruitment team to find out what they're looking for when someone applies to join the service. Our guests will also share some tips to help you make sure you're as ready as possible for when you apply. And if you have a question, please leave it in the comments and we'll try and answer as many of them as possible with our Q&A panel later in the live stream. Remember, there's also plenty of information available on the website at recruitment.police.tas.gov.au. Now time to meet one of Tasmania Police's many dedicated officers in a video that has been developed for the This Is Tas Police recruitment campaign. Here's Brendan, who is from Launceston and recently graduated from the academy.
What is Tas Police? It is the helping hand to the community. Yeah, being a police officer for 2 months, you really don't know what to expect. You just show up to work and the only thing you can expect is not knowing what to expect. Since I'm from a different country, I feel like I'm doing my part by giving back to the community. Everyone's pretty easygoing, everyone's very friendly, always ready to lend a helping hand. 99% of the time we deal with people on their worst day, and when we get to help them, that is rewarding. I like to think I do have a good work-life balance, and the work I do at the gym definitely complements the job. At this point I like to concentrate on just doing my uniform frontline work, but at some point I would like to join the bomb squad or the drone squad. There are hundreds of opportunities. Take that first step and do it. Just apply. You got nothing to lose, just do it.
So what does it take to be a Tasmania police officer? Police officers have one of the most rewarding and at times challenging jobs in Tasmania. There's no single attribute or skill that will get you into the service, as it's really all about having an overall suitability to the role and, of course, the ability to think quickly and to communicate well. Resilience, honesty, compassion and confidence are particularly important because police are entrusted with considerable authority and responsibility to ensure that they can properly serve the Tasmanian community. Tonight, we're joined by someone who knows all about that, having joined Tasmania Police in 1987. Donna Adams has had a varied and exciting career across a range of areas, rising through the ranks to become Commissioner of Police in October this year. Thank you so much for joining us, Commissioner, and congratulations on the recent appointment. We've got some questions for you. Your new recruitment campaign is called This Is Tas Police. What is Tas Police to you?
Tas Police is the most diverse and challenging role a person can ever have. You get an opportunity to work in a supportive team and you can have 101 jobs in our career. You can be a drug squad member, you can work in uniform, you can work in traffic policing, you can learn to become a detective, you can jump out of a helicopter, or you can be a dog handler. The diversity is just boundless.
So is there an average day for a Tasmania police officer?
A new recruit will always start off in uniform, and you'll work with someone else and you'll respond to calls from the community, and those calls could be to report a crime, they could be in relation to a traffic related matter, they could be family violence, and you're there to generally help the community and ensure that you take their report of crime and help them where you can.
You've just listed all the different tasks that an officer may have to do. Do you think there's any aspects of the job that might surprise people?
I think the first thing is that a potential applicant should understand you don't have to live at the police academy. And we actually have a recruitment program in Launceston and in Hobart. And we're trying to be as diverse as we can to get the right applicants, and we want to attract as many people across Tasmania to join Tasmania Police.
As we heard a little bit earlier, you've been with the police force since 1987. You've obviously seen some incredible things. What are the most memorable moments in your career so far?
I've had the opportunity of working in an investigative role with a small team, and being able to investigate serious crime is always brings a great deal of satisfaction. But earlier this month, I had the opportunity of going to Melbourne and meeting the other two female police commissioners. It was an historic moment and really struck home to me how far we've progressed in policing across Australia.
Do you have any advice for people who are thinking about applying for Tasmania Police?
I think people need to follow their dreams. Take a risk. If you think you have what it takes to be a police officer, I encourage you to put your application forward. You never know. It could be the most rewarding career you could ever have.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. We really appreciate your time, and congratulations again. It's now time to meet another Tasmania police officer. This next video features Francis, who works in Devonport.
What is Tas Police? It's a place where I get to work with my friends every day. I love it because every day is different. There's not any 2 days that are the same. It can be quite exciting not knowing what's happening. You know, you feel quite accomplished from the work that you've done throughout the day, whether it be a big day responding to numerous jobs, or maybe there was only one job for that day, but it might have been something really special. At the academy, I made a bunch of friends, and then since that time, we've all kept in contact and got a really close group of friends. Yes, there's a lot of serious time, but when you're not being serious, it's a lot of fun, and it feels like you're spending every day with your friends, really. If you've got good people around you, that's what really makes every day count. It really feels like I've got a great work-life balance at the moment. I joined the job when I was 21, so at the time I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I got to the academy, and when I was there I really started learning about myself and learning about the people around me, and it's led me into where I am today, 10 years later, into a career that I really love.
General duties or uniform officers like Francis are the foundation of Tasmania Police, and they're essential to ensuring that the Tasmanian community functions safely. Their duties include preventing crime and antisocial behaviour, attending crashes or disputes, investigating matters, and interacting with members of the public. General duties officers are the first on the scene at any reported incident and provide a service to the community 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Tasmania Police knows how important it is to look after the people who look after the rest of us, and they understand it's paramount for officers to have a life outside of policing. With this in mind, police officers have access to a range of benefits, including 6 weeks annual leave and flexible work options and reduced hours agreements for parenting responsibilities or for work-life balance. When training at the academy, recruits are paid a full-time wage, and at the end of the 31-week course, this pay increases as they graduate and become constables at Tasmania Police. The salary also progresses as officers gain more experience, and because policing is a 24-hour role, there are a number of shift allowances available. This means that uniform constables are paid an annual allowance of 21% on top of their normal salaries. So we've heard from the Commissioner tonight about what police do each day and what Tas Police is from her perspective, but we're now joined by Constable Cameron Blight, who can shed some more light on what it's like to work on the beat. Thank you for joining us, Cameron. Before we hear about the job itself, I'm interested to know why you joined Tasmania Police.
Yeah, look, I was probably about 20 years into my career, mainly in safety and wellbeing, and I was lucky enough to get a role within the Department of Police Fire and Emergency Management doing wellbeing. Did that for a few years and went back to my old role and thought, it was time for a change, and I think I might have saw an advert on Facebook actually about the recruiting program, so yeah, expressed an interest, and I'd also played in a police footy carnival, and I just thought the camaraderie, having been involved in team sport for many years. That really appealed to me, and yeah, so took the plunge and joined the Blue family.
And here we are, sitting next to the Commissioner.
Yeah, a bit daunting.
You're currently in a uniform role in Hobart. We spoke with the Commissioner before about an average day. What does an average day look like for you?
Oh, look, I think that's what's an exciting part of the job. Every single day is different. Saturday nights at the Hobart waterfront's very different to Monday mornings in the mall. But yeah, just very varied, and I guess depends on what comes through on the radio as to what jobs that we respond to. But quite often, helping people in need, or we obviously get an opportunity now, particularly with the new roster, to put some more time into our investigations. And so I just really like the variety of not really knowing what's going to come each day, and it makes it a great role.
You mentioned a new roster. What sort of hours or shifts do you work?
Yeah, so in July we started a roster reform or roster trial, and that involves a 4-on, 4-off roster. So normally a mix of days, afternoons and nights. So going from the old roster of sort of 7 nights in a row, now the most nights you'll do is 2. So I think the 4-on, 4-off roster is much more family friendly, and achieving life balance is certainly a lot better with that roster now in play.
That leads to my next question for both of you, actually. Do you think it's possible to have a good work-life balance as a police officer?
I think absolutely, and an important point that Cam didn't talk about is our new enterprise bargaining agreement. And I know, Louise, you went through the pay scales that we actually have, but at the moment our members are voting on a new pay deal, which over 3 years will see police officers receive an extra 12% in their pay for people who work on the front line. So not only is there an opportunity to get great work-life balance, but there's also an opportunity to get some great conditions and salary as well.
Yeah, so work-life balance, I think definitely within our teams at Hobart Uniform, we're able to do shift swaps if we have certain important family commitments that might be coming up. I was able to attend a wedding on Saturday night, so I toiled off night shift, which, so there is that flexibility there to be able to, not miss out on important things in your life. And I've got kids, so I'm able to sort of pre-plan. We know our roster, almost 12 months in advance, and so there's plenty of time there to plan and put things in place for, whether it be a shift swap or working some extra hours to have some toil time available. So I think work-life balance is definitely achievable, and the organisation's supportive of that.
You're obviously very passionate about your career, both of you. But to you, Cameron, what would you say to anyone who's thinking about applying to be a Tasmania police officer?
Yeah, look, initially it was just an expression of interest for me, and I mean, I was, in my 40s, and so I'd say definitely, no matter where you're at in your career, it's certainly given me a new lease of life, and I look forward to going to work every single day, and my kids are excited about it, and I've got a very supportive family to allow that time to go off and do the academy. It's a challenging time, but you learn lots at the academy, and we have a really strong partnership with the University of Tasmania, so you get those opportunities to to go through the qualifying program and better yourself with university qualifications along the way. And I think a lot of other jurisdictions are quite envious of Tasmania Police and their partnership with the university, so I think that's definitely something that people should be thinking about. And I mean, hopefully for me it's at least a 20-year career, if not more, but you're going to come out of it better for your next stage in your work career anyway.
And Commissioner, just briefly with you, what would you say to anyone who's thinking about applying, if you could add to anything there?
Absolutely, the time is right now. We're going to have our largest recruit course in January of 80 recruits. It's the largest program that we will run. The time is right for us to get as many applicants as we can, because we're in a very active recruitment phase. Wonderful. Thank you so much both for your time, both very insightful experiences that you've had.
As we've heard already tonight, policing is an extremely varied career, and as many within Tasmania Police like to say, it's one job with many opportunities. One of the benefits of being a police officer is that you can move around and try new things throughout your career without having to change jobs. After about 2 years of general duties policing, there's various specialty roles that you can train for. These specialist areas include criminal investigation prosecution, police dog handlers, forensics, marine search and rescue and special operations. Watch now to hear the stories of 3 people who have had very different career pathways with Tasmania Police.
What is Tas Police? It's a job that takes you places. My role is a aircrew officer. On a day-to-day basis, it entails rescuing people. We can often be first on scene and we're assisting the paramedics with the patient, or if it's a water rescue, we are the ones in the water getting the person out. It's hard to describe the feeling when they first get into the aircraft. It's very noisy in there. We can't hear what they're saying often, but we can see on their face how grateful they are to be in the aircraft and safe. I've always had an interest in flying. I wanted to be a pilot when I was 5 years old. I wanted to fly helicopters. I moved myself through Tasmania Police to a position where I could apply to become an aircrewman. I don't think there's a better career.
I just really wanted a career that I felt would make a difference to other people. So being a prosecutor and prosecuting the matters in court, we get to help the victims of the crimes that have been committed and they get to see a positive outcome. It's basically a completely different role to general duties policing, but that's sort of what I like about it as well. There's definitely some clerical work involved. You would probably spend 2 to 3 days of your week in court. I definitely find it enjoyable. I find the prosecution role especially extremely challenging, so I feel like I'm learning a lot.
I investigate the more serious crime. Now, I loved uniform work. It was always so much variety, but what I'm doing now is really important and I love investigating. Absolutely, it's fun, but at the same time it's serious and it matters. So I got into the academy basically straight out of grade 12. And it wasn't what I expected, but I loved it and made lots of friends that I'm still really close with. So I've completed all the investigative courses and now I've got my dream job.
All very different jobs, but all 3 are very passionate about what they do. As you move around Tasmania Police, there's also plenty of promotional opportunities for those looking to climb the ranks. As you complete the relevant training and obtain the necessary experience, you can apply for promotion. The promotional pathway goes Constable, Sergeant, Inspector, Commander, Assistant Commissioner, Deputy Commissioner and Commissioner. We're now joined by Sergeant Angus Dobner, who first joined Tasmania Police as a trainee constable in 2010 and has worked in a range of roles, including as a detective and as a recruit course director at the Police Academy, before being promoted to the rank of Sergeant in January this year. Thank you so much for being here, Angus. How old were you when you first joined Tasmania Police?
Well, Louise, I was actually lucky enough to participate in a previous version of the current career development program that's offered. So technically I've been employed by the police since I was 16, joining up as a recruit when I was 18.
What can you tell us about your career path so far?
Look, you've heard it's a fairly common theme tonight. There are different options offered to people, and I've been lucky enough to take advantage of some of those. So I've worked in Launceston, Ravenswood, I've worked at Glenorchy Uniform, Glenorchy CIB, Southern Drug Investigations, and as you mentioned, more recently at the Police Academy and now back in Hobart Uniform, and have also had the opportunity to undertake the role of a police negotiator in a part-time capacity.
Some incredible experiences there. You've also trained at the Academy yourself and you've trained other officers. What's an average day like at the training academy?
Look, I suppose to probably get people used to the unpredictability of some aspects of this work, it does chop and change, but there are some fairly common themes that you'll experience at the Academy as part of your recruit training program. There will obviously PT, or your physical training, the fitness elements of it, operational skills, so your driving, your operational safety, defensive tactics, classroom-based assessments, physical-based scenario assessments, and a bit of team building and getting to know people you're going through that journey with along the way.
So building those really strong foundations. Many people would think of the academy as where recruits learn to be police officers, but I understand that there's also lots of ongoing learning available once you're in the job as well. We've heard a little bit about that tonight. What sort of training have you done since becoming a police officer?
So look, again, I've been lucky to be able to undertake a number of different courses, both within the police, sort of the negotiation course, or the investigative courses. I've been lucky enough to travel interstate for training courses for different things, and obviously also now the university alignment of the recruit training program as well has offered some different training and skills through that.
You're a sergeant now, as we heard, so you've gone a little bit through the promotional process. Can you tell us about how that works and how Tasmania Police supports people to move through the ranks?
Yeah, so look, there's a lot of opportunities for development. So to reach the position that I have, there's a couple of in-service courses, the frontline supervision course, and then some exams and the sergeant's qualifying process that is all undertaken and facilitated by the Police Academy.
Wonderful, thank you. Before we let you go tonight, I'd love to know what it is that you think Tasmania Police offers that other careers may not.
Look, again, I think, and it's probably a theme that you're going to hear a lot, and I don't mean to harp on about it, but it's the options that you've got. In this couple of minutes, we've been able to cover all these different things that I've been lucky enough to do. You work with a really good group of of like-minded, people, and you never know what you're going to deal with when you go to work. You have fun when you go to work, and we're in a position where you're lucky enough to help people at what is unfortunately sometimes the lowest or most difficult point of their lives, which I think is quite humbling, it's quite a privilege, and it's a very rewarding and fulfilling role that we're able to undertake.
Thank you so much for your time, Angus. We really appreciate that as well. It's time now for another video. Let's meet Shannon from Launceston and hear why she finds the job so rewarding.
What is Tas Police? It's giving back to the community. So I've been really fortunate. I've worked in a number of different roles within the police force. I've done a lot of work in the family violence space, and I really enjoy being able to keep the community safe, and I find that a really rewarding part of the job. This job is the right job for me because it's a great work-life balance and I'm able to give back to the community. One of the best things about the job is working within a tight group. We're very fortunate that we get to work with each other every day, and we form really strong bonds and relationships with each other. Spending so long in the car together out at jobs, going to some difficult jobs certainly makes you form those strong relationships. For some time during my career I've been part-time. I have 2 young children at home, so I've been very fortunate enough to be able to do that as part of my career. Every day coming to work is fun, whilst also challenging at times. It's absolutely a rewarding job.
And so far tonight, we've heard about what it's like to work at Tasmania Police, but we know many of you will be most interested in this next segment, where we hear from the recruiting team themselves about what they're looking for when someone applies to join. With us now is the Commander of Education and Training at Tasmania Police, Jason Elmer, and Senior Constable Caitlin Rawlings from Recruitment Services. They're here to talk with us through the application process, and they'll also share some top tips to help you make sure you're as ready as possible when you apply. Thank you both so much for joining us tonight, Jason and Caitlin. Before we get into the process itself, Jason, can you tell us what you're looking for when you receive an application to join Tasmania Police?
Yeah, sure. Look, first and foremost, it's really important that Tasmania Police has a strong connection with the community. So we're looking for applications from a diverse range of people from across that community so that we can be reflective of the community that we serve. In terms of the attributes that we're looking for people with high levels of honesty and integrity, people who are good communicators, both written and verbal, good decision makers, physically and mentally fit and able to perform the duties of a police officer, and people that take accountability for the decisions that they make. And I guess probably importantly, we don't expect people to be outstanding in all of those attributes that I've mentioned. If we can see that people have potential and that they're trainable, we've then got 31 weeks in which to turn those applicants into really good police officers for Tasmania Police.
Thank you. And Caitlin, for you, if someone's interested in joining, what's the first step that they have to take?
Yep, so the first step's actually really easy. It's just a matter of jumping online onto our recruitment page and submitting an expression of interest. Basically, from there, we just ask for your, generic details, so name, address. We ask you to disclose all your social media accounts as well, and from then on, we review that.
So what comes next after putting in that initial application expression of interest, putting in those basic details? What's the next step after that?
So once the recruitment team receive that expression of interest, we go through it just to make sure that the applicants have met all the prerequisites. If they have met those prerequisites, we then go on and do a number of background checks. So that includes criminal history checks, driving history, as well as their social media. And if they don't have any issues there, we will invite them to come through for fitness testing. And if they pass the fitness testing, they will go on and do their online exams, and then they will go on and sit through an assessment day and an interview if they have met those requirements.
So there's a fair bit to get through just to get to that point. Jason, Caitlin just mentioned fitness and psychometric testing. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that actually involves?
Sure. In relation to the physical testing, we need to make sure that our applicants are physically capable of performing the duties of a police officer, and also performing the physical training that they'll do every day at the academy and the defensive tactics training. So we put them through a range of fitness tests, including the beep test that a number of people will be familiar with. There's an agility test, where a series of cones that they weave their way in and out of. Some strength testing with push-ups and hand grip strength testing. So a range of fitness tests for us to gauge the fitness level of our applicants. Importantly, all the testing is on our website. All the requirements are there. There are instruction videos for people so they know exactly what they're coming into, and they know exactly the standard they need to achieve before they start the testing. In terms of the psychometric testing, again, a range of testing online that looks at cognify and emotional testing. The cognify testing looking at people's verbal knowledge skills, their numerical reasoning, their problem-solving ability, and that's to ensure that we know that the applicants are capable of getting through the academic side of the recruit course. And then the emotional testing to look at people's emotional intelligence, their emotional understanding and perception, so that we would get a really good clear picture of people and how they may react in stressful situations or dealing with the many and varied situations that police officers face on a daily basis.
Yeah, all right, thank you for that. And what about the interview and assessment day that's part of that application process?
Yeah, so if the applicants make it through to the interview day, it's a full day at the academy, usually arriving about 8 o'clock in the morning. They're put through some scenario testing individually, but also some group exercises as well. And then they'll be put before an interview panel, which is made up of 3 people from Tasmania Police who are trained in relation to the interviewing. An interview that runs from about 45 minutes to an hour, covering a range of topics. It might cover off on some things that are in their application that need some clarification, might talk a little bit about background, might have some scenarios in it as well. And at the end of that interview, applicants are then advised as to whether they'll progress through to the selection pool, which is not always a guarantee of a place on a recruit course, but that it guarantees them to move on to the next phase.
All right, thank you for that. And finally for you, Caitlin, you're of course part of the team that gets out and about across the state talking to interested people, young and old, about joining Tasmania Police. Is there, in your opinion, a particular type of person that's best suited to the job?
No, I think the Commissioner and the Commander have already touched on it, but I think we're really lucky to be part of an organisation that's so diverse, because we successfully recruit from all different backgrounds. So we're not looking for people that are all cut from the same mould. Our organisation works and we police our community so successfully because we are so different. So it doesn't matter what kind of socio-economic background you come from, what kind of education background you come from, if you identify as a different sexuality or from different religions, we're really interested in having people who are so different in our organisation.
So they represent the community that they're there to protect.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time, Caitlin and Jason. We really appreciate it. Are you keen to know what it's like to train at the Police Academy? In this next video, we'll hear current recruit Zoe's experience.
What is Tas Police? It's being involved in the community and working with a great team. I'm a trainee constable at the moment, so that basically means I'm just learning to be a constable. We learn a lot of things, so from legislation to practical and ops skills, safety, and just how to work in a team as well. It is really physically demanding, but we all get around each other and support each other through that. We're all very close as a course, so there are definitely lifelong friends that are made out of that. So I was in the police radio room prior to starting at the academy. For me, being so young, there's so many opportunities. If you're passionate about doing it, just have a go. Just push yourself out of your comfort zone and just take that step, because it is really rewarding once you get there.
We're now joined by someone who knows the application process very well, having gone through it herself just a few months ago. Trainee Constable Olivia Palmer is currently a recruit at the Tasmania Police Academy. Thank you so much for being here, Olivia. What made you decide to join Tasmania Police?
I've always wanted to be a police officer. I wanted a career that was diverse and gave good sort of work-life balance. Prior to becoming a recruit, I worked in an office for 5 years, and it was sort of the same thing every day, and it's not, what resonated with me. So something where no 2 days are the same is what I wanted.
Can you tell us a little bit about the recruitment process and how it went for you?
Yeah, so I put my expression of interest in January, not long after I completed my job suitability test, which was a range of questions. After that was my fitness test. There was a bit of a period of waiting around, which was fine, until I got to the assessment day. So that was a full day of a panel interview, a scenario, that sort of thing. I then completed another fitness test because it had been sort of so far between my first one to see if I could make any improvements. And about 4 weeks prior to the start of my course, I got the exciting call. So, yeah.
And you're still obviously very passionate about what you're doing. Were there any other parts of the process that were harder than others, or anything that really surprised you?
No and yes. So all the information is on the recruitment website. So I was sort of prepared in what I needed to do to get to where I wanted to be, sort of thing. The medical testing that we had to do prior was a lot more than I expected, which was really good to make sure that you're not just physically but mentally fit enough for the role.
And that's obviously a really important part of it too. You've been at the Academy for about 17 weeks now. How have you found the training program so far, and for you, what's been the highlight?
Yeah, it's been really, really good. I came into the Academy with no expectations on what to expect on day to day. They're long days, they can be really long days, but yeah, the highlight so far has been observation shifts. So you go out and you sort of watch what police do for a week straight. Yeah, it was really good.
What are you looking forward to most for the rest of the course?
Yeah, so next week we start phase 2 and 3 of driver training and firearms training, which is 2 weeks of that. And then after that is outstations. So we spend 2 weeks at a station, and we're sort of sworn in as special constables, and we're able to use some police powers and really get hands on.
It's well known, and we've heard a little bit about it tonight, that the physical training component of the course is important and of course can be quite demanding. Can you tell us a little bit about what that's like, so anyone who wants to join up can be a little bit prepared?
Yeah, absolutely. So the fitness test that you do at the start of the recruitment process is sort of the minimum that you should be, and throughout the course there's multiple testing stages, so you do see some sort of improvement in your physical fitness. At the moment it's split up into 2 days of cardio and 2 days of strength training, and then a day in the middle of active recovery, you could call it. and the mornings start anywhere from 5:15 to 6:15 and go for about an hour. But yeah, it's demanding.
So it's good if you're an early bird then. What values do you think make a good police officer, and which ones do you think you possess as well?
Yeah, look, as I guess cliche as it sounds, it's accountability and honesty are two big values that you need to carry. And I think resilience is something that's touched on by a lot of police officers, is having that resilience, and I think that's something that I can bring, yeah.
I think this next question is a good one for both you and Jason, because you've both got quite interesting perspectives. What do you think people should do to make their application as strong as possible?
I think honesty is one of the key factors, not telling, I guess, people what they want to hear or what you think they want to hear. It's being honest. No human being is perfect, and that's not what we're looking for. So absolutely honesty and keeping your fitness up, I think, is really important as well. Not just sort of getting that bare minimum and really pushing yourself physically and mentally. Yep.
And look, yes, I would agree. Honesty, absolutely. There might be some things in people's background that they don't particularly want us to know about in the application phase. We will find out about that. And if you're not sure about something like that, then touch base with the recruiting team just to discuss what an issue might be. Be prepared. Talk to people. You might have family or friends who are police officers who can give you a really good insight in relation to what the job involves and the shifts that you might work, the jobs that you might go to, all that sort of thing. So yeah, be as prepared as you possibly can and go into it with your eyes wide open and really prepared to demonstrate your commitment and how much you really are looking forward to being part of our organisation.
Thank you for that. And just finally, with you, Olivia, you're obviously smack bang in the middle of your training. What advice do you have for future recruits who want to be where you are?
I think really get to know what the role entails, and talk to police officers, pull them up on the street, that sort of thing. Talk to recruiting, come to the open days, that sort of thing, and really get to know what it is you'll be doing day in, day out.
Thank you so much again for all your insights. Very interesting. And before we head into our much anticipated Q&A session, let's watch our final video for this evening and meet Rory from Burnie.
What is Tas Police? It's helping the community when they need it the most. The best thing about working in Tasmania Police is the variety. No 2 days are ever the same. Sometimes there'll be specific things we need to go look for. We could be dealing with the public order in town, just chatting with people about what's going on, or we could be going out getting traffic, responding to the radio, whatever gets called in. I love it. I love the different variety of work that comes with the role. Every day is different and it's always exciting. There are opportunities that I've had already in my short time here on the watch that I wouldn't have been exposed to if I'd not been in this job. The work culture here at Tasmania Police is great. Even outside of the job, I'll hang out with the people that are on my shift. It's really important to have good relationships with everyone that you work with. Well, I think it's really important for police officers to maintain an active lifestyle. You're working 4 days on, 4 days off here in Burnie at the moment, which is pretty great. I think most of my job is helping people.
Now it's time for us to answer some of your questions. Hopefully we've already answered many of them here this evening, but we'll now welcome Angus back to join the rest of the panel and we'll go through some of the questions that you have submitted. Angus, what are the people asking?
Thanks, Louise. So the first question we've had come through actually comes from Chris and Alex, have both asked the same one, and that's how do we manage doing what we do when you have children?
That's a really good question. I think as we spoke about earlier, Lou, parenting in itself is really difficult. Parenting and working in any capacity, whether that's part-time, casually or full-time, is really difficult. I think the magic part about this job is that we are so flexible in the hours that we can work, the days that we can work, and what we do for work. So for me, after having my son Spencer, who's now 2, I was really fortunate that I could take the 12 months off, which was fully paid, and during that time I was fully supported by the department, and when I returned I was fully supported as well. So what that looked like was I chose at what capacity I came back. I chose to come back in a full-time capacity, and I was fully supported in the training I received to make sure that I was back up to scratch before I started back operationally, and have been fully supported ever since in different trainings that I've undertaken and different courses, as well as the different job opportunities that I've had to do. So it's definitely not out of the realms of possibility to also, to be a parent and a police officer as well. I think we're really fortunate to be able to do both.
I suppose that's something that's probably really nice to hear for all the people tuning in tonight that really have that question, because of course that is a big question and people are wondering about work-life balance. Any other questions, Angus?
Yeah, the next one we've got is, if you apply and don't get in, do you still have to wait 12 months to try again?
Yeah, I might take that one if that's all right, Angus. So predominantly, if you have fallen down in any part of our recruitment process, you have had to wait 12 months, and there are specific reasons for that. The major one we look at is the job suitability testing. We specifically need you to wait 12 months if you have fallen down on that aspect. That said, if you have just missed the mark with your fitness testing, we will look at retesting you before the 12 months. So if we think that you are ready to come back in a couple of weeks or you're ready to come back in a couple of months, we are currently giving people that opportunity to redo their fitness testing.
Jason, do you have anything to add to that?
Look, we're quite happy to give people feedback in relation to when they're able to reapply, depending on where in the process they haven't quite reached the mark. So again, conversations with our recruiting staff, and I guess that comes back to being prepared. And we've mentioned before about all of our standards, particularly in relation to physical testing, all being visible, all being on the internet. You know exactly what is required when you turn up. I equate it a little bit to have an exam tomorrow and being given the answers today. You have the answers before you get there. So just make sure you're prepared. But again, if you don't quite reach the standard that's required, our recruiting team will happily let you know when you're able to reapply, depending on where you've fallen over.
Anything else, Angus?
Yeah, so we've got this one from Adele in Devonport's come through and asked, how would I go about becoming a homicide detective? And that's probably actually one that I'm happy to take, if you like. So here in Tassie, we don't have a specialised homicide squad, as people might have heard terminology for on the mainland, but you would go through the process of doing your investigative training, your detective designation, and working in any one of the statewide CIBs. You would be dealing with those type of incidents should they arise in your area.
All right, thank you for that. What else are people wondering tonight?
So next, how does the process change for interstate applicants, if at all?
Okay, so with interstate applicants, the prerequisites are still the same. The only thing that may differ in your application process is that we will require you to submit your interstate driving history, obviously so that we can make sure you haven't committed any serious driving offences. Previously, we have made people come down from interstate to participate in assessment days and interviews and their fitness testing. That can now all be done online. So I guess the benefit of that is you don't need to worry about booking accommodation or getting flights. If you have successfully passed the initial phase, so with the expression of interest and your background checks out, you'll be invited to submit some videos online with some questions that we have, and you'll be able to do your fitness testing online as well as your interview.
I might just add there too, a different process again. If we've got people from interstate listening who are current serving police officers in other jurisdictions, and we haven't touched on that much this evening, but a slightly different application process taking into account the fact that they are current serving police officers, different processes as we go through each stage, and a different recruit course as well. We have what we call an accelerated training program for serving officers from other jurisdictions that is a much smaller time frame. So, if there's anyone out there from interstate, from other jurisdictions listening in tonight, we would love to hear from them again at our recruiting team.
And why wouldn't you want to work and live in Tassie? It's a pretty special place. Angus, have we got anything else?
Yeah, Louise, so this one might even be one for Olivia. Is it difficult to get into good study habits at the academy, especially if I've been out of school for a long time?
yes and no. So it can be hard to get into the good study habits if you don't have that expectation when you come in. In saying that, there is so much support. So you do form a really strong team with the rest of the recruits, and you support each other. And your course directors and university presenters and all your teachers throughout the course really support you. So if you do need the extra help, it's sort of up to you to reach out. But from the start of the course, you do sort of ease into it. It's, you start studying prior to coming in for exams and things like that, and it does ramp up a little bit, heading into the middle of the course now. But you ease into it, and you do have the support from everyone around you.
We've heard a little bit about tonight as well that there's often on-the-job training as well, and you've spoken a little bit about that. So you're not just studying during the recruitment course, you're studying throughout your career.
Yeah, absolutely. As we've already touched on, no job is the same, no day is the same. So for me, the best part about this job is you're always learning something new. Laws change, the way we police change, so you're never going to get bored, that's for sure.
Wonderful.
We mentioned earlier about the diversity of our organisation, and we don't discriminate against people based on age, and we take applications from a broad range of age groups. And what I would say in relation to that question that was just asked, we often find that people who maybe come to Tasmania Police as a career change, have had a long career elsewhere and haven't studied for a long time, they actually do quite well. They apply themselves really significantly. Some undertake courses prior to coming to the academy, and there are courses that you can undertake through TAFE or through universities. But on the whole, our more, if you like, mature age recruits do quite well, despite the fact that they haven't had any formal education qualification since perhaps leaving school.
I suppose they come into it with life experience as well, which is always a good thing. Angus, anything else?
So how can I best prepare for my interview?
I'm happy to take that one on. I think researching what it is, what job you're about to enter into potentially. Your fitness is still, really, really important. And for the interview, it's a conversation that you're going to have. It can be intimidating having a panel interview and that sort of thing, but really going into it and being open and honest throughout the entire interview. And I mean, it's easier said than done, but not getting flustered and just take your time and answer the questions truthfully and honestly.
If I could also just touch on that as well. I think it's just a matter of being yourself as well. We obviously want people from different backgrounds, so we don't want you to come in with a preconceived idea about what we want to hear or how we want to hear it. We just want you to be yourself and let us get to know you.
Thank you.
So next we've got, how can I help make this process more or less stressful, not more stressful?
Look, the entire process, we mentioned, everybody knows all the steps all the way through. I really encourage people to be prepared to speak to police officers, whether they be family or friends, to get a really good understanding of what this job involves, so that you can go into a selection process, an interview with a really good understanding. And as Caitlin just mentioned about being yourself, not giving us the answers that you think that we want to hear, and just giving us a really good understanding of your understanding of Tasmania Police. Going into that interview really, really prepared, will tend to relax people and make that process a little bit easier for them. So just, to make it less nerve-wracking, one step at a time. There's several steps in that process. Equally, talk to our recruiting staff. If you've got any concerns, they are more than happy to take a phone call or an email to answer any questions or queries or concerns that someone may have in relation to the process. They're there to help our applicants through. As our Commissioner mentioned earlier, we are recruiting heavily. Now is a great time to put that application in, and we'll assist you as much as we can to have you in one of these uniforms really soon.
Wonderful. Anything else, Angus?
Yeah, look, lucky last, Louise, the last one we've had come through is, can you wear glasses and be a police officer?
Absolutely. Yep. So we have a lot of police officers who need a prescription lens to do their job. A lot of them will either wear glasses or sometimes they're contact lenses, and there's absolutely no issues with that whatsoever.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for your advice and insight. I'm sure it's been very insightful for all these people watching tonight, really interested to be exactly where you are. We really hope tonight's recruitment live stream has helped to answer your questions about joining Tasmania Police. You can, of course, find more information on the website, including that quick eligibility test, tips on how to make your application as strong as possible, details on upcoming in-person information sessions and fitness testing times, and the brand new This Is Tas Police podcast. Don't forget, a recording of this session will also be available on the website in the coming days, as well as on Facebook very shortly if you'd like to go back and watch tonight's proceedings. For more general information about joining Tas Police, visit the website at recruitment.police.tas.gov.au. Thank you again to all the representatives who joined us here tonight. It was a pleasure to hear from each of you about what it's really like to be a part of Tas Police. And thanks to all of you who tuned in to tonight's event. We really hope you found it helpful. Good night.